functions of the Indian Constitution from the chapter Constitution Why and How from Class 11 textbook Indian Constitution at Work. So, in my last lesson, we had discussed the first two functions of the Indian Constitution. So, what is the first function of the Indian Constitution? The first function is that the Indian Constitution provides a basic set of rules and principles that help bind the nation together. It helps bring the nation together, or it provides for a minimal coordination of the nation. So this is the first function of the Indian Constitution. And what was the second function of the Indian Constitution? The second function is that the Indian Constitution defines who has the power to make decisions in our society or in our nation. So the Indian Constitution tells us that who has the authority to make decisions in our country or nation or society. So today we are going to discuss the remaining two functions of the Indian Constitution. That is the third and fourth function. So what is the third function of the Indian Constitution? The third function is that the Indian Constitution provides limits on government. So now tell me, why does the government, or why do we have to limit the government or limit the functions of the government? So you know that the government, as we know from the second function, that the government has the power to make decisions in our society. It has the power to govern our society or our nation. So you know, it is basic human nature that when we are given power, we tend to misuse our power. So the government is nothing but made of human beings. The human beings constitute our government. So it will be the government's tendency to misuse its power if there was no limitations, if there were no limitations. So what are these limitations? These limitations tell the government what not to do or which boundaries not to cross. And these limitations are of the aim, like they have the aim to protect us as citizens or us as human beings. These limitations give us freedom, give us a sense of dignity, and help us lead a peaceful life as citizens and residents of India. So these limitations tell the government what not to do. And how do we limit our government? So we limit our government through two mechanisms, or through two tools, you can say. The first one is FRs, or the fundamental rights, and the second one is through the opposition or the opposition party or parties. So how do we limit the government through our FRs or the fundamental rights? So the fundamental rights tell the government what not to do. These are a basic set of rights or basic set of fundamental rights that are legally enforceable. That is, you and me, we all of us as Indian citizens and as residents of India, we have a basic set of fundamental rights. And these rights tell the government what not to do. Suppose we all of us have a right to freedom of expression, or right to move around the nation freely, the right to residence, the right to life, and the right against untouchability, and there are many more rights, many more fundamental rights which are legally enforceable. That is, if these rights are violated, you and I, all of us, can approach the court, the High Court or the Supreme Court to get our fundamental rights, to get back our fundamental rights. So these fundamental rights cannot be harmed even by the government. So these act as limitations to the government. These fundamental rights limit the government or tell the government that you have power, but you cannot cross your boundaries. You cannot take away this basic minimum set of rights of the citizens or the people residing in India. And what is the second tool to limit the government? The second one is through the opposition. As you know, when a bill is passed in the legislature or bill is introduced in the legislature, there's a session of discussion, extreme discussion and questioning. So who has the power to question? The opposition questions the government. The opposition argues with the government, and this is how the opposition, they act as the representatives of the people, representatives of us, and they question the government and make the government accountable so that the government cannot become arbitrary or tyrannical in its decisions. So you see, this is how, by the help of these two mechanisms or tools, we can limit our or put limitations on our government so that our government does not become arbitrary or tyrannical or undemocratic. So these limitations, our constitution ensures that our society remains democratic, or democracy is safeguarded in India. So this is our third function of the Indian Constitution. And what is the fourth function of the Indian Constitution? As you see, the fourth function of the Indian Constitution is that it enables or empowers the government to fulfill society's aspirations or fulfill the aspirations of the society to achieve a just society. So you see how the fourth function differs from the third function. The third function puts certain limitations on the government, whereas the fourth function enables or empowers the government. So this is kind of a contrary. You see, this our constitution makers were so much thoughtful that they provided not only limitations to the government but also empowered the government to work for the people, for the betterment of a society or for the achievement of a just society. So how our constitution makers made our constitution like all inclusive, are very thoughtful document. So you see, through the fourth function, the government is empowered or enabled to fulfill the society's aspirations. And how these aspirations are fulfilled? Through certain welfare measures, and which are these are the FRs or the fundamental rights and DPSP, that is directive principle of state policy. So you see, what are aspirations? All of us have aspirations. You, me, all of us, we have aspirations as human beings. Aspirations as in goals or our long-time dream. Many of us have aspired of becoming something. Some aspire to become teachers. Some aspire to become government servants, or many more. Some aspire to become doctors. Many others. So all of us have aspirations. So likewise, our society also has certain aspirations. So these aspirations are that our society, that our Indian constitution makers thought that our society's aspiration is to become just or justful or or free of social evils. Our society's aspiration is to remove untouchability and caste discrimination. So these are the basic aspirations of our society that we have to realize together, and our constitution helps our government to realize these aspirations through the two tools, that is through fundamental rights and DPSP. How are these aspirations defined? How these aspirations are helped by the government? How are these aspirations realized? So through FRs, there's an article called Article 17 that aims to remove untouchability. So this is one of the aspiration of this article, and through this article, our government aims to remove untouchability, and this is one of the aspirations that the government achieves to fulfill. And the second is TPSP. There's an article named 39A, which aims to promote equal justice. So this is another aspiration of our society which our government wants to fulfill, and our constitution has empowered our government to fulfill these aspirations or realize this aspiration to make a society more just and more peaceful and more egalitarian. So you see, this is how our constitution is a very holistic document which tends to make our Indian society into a just, peaceful and egalitarian society, so that we Indians can live in this society peacefully and in harmony. So these are the four functions of the Indian constitution that I have discussed in these two lectures. I think it is clear, and see you in the next class. Thank you.